This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
The bush is truly alive this morning, and this is the exact spot where we left the leopard last night, and that's what we're following up on. Gorgeous sunrise. I can even hear some elephants shouting in the background. So much happening, and we're definitely going to follow up on it. Now, I'm thinking leopards, and I'm going to, like I said, follow up on Mawati. Hopefully follow up on Kara that we saw last night too. So much action. So I hope that you're ready. So jump on board, everyone, for your live safari through the African bush. Good morning, good morning. Look at that sky. Stunning, stunning. Beautiful sky. A little bit overcast here over Djuma Game Reserve. I'm so happy to be out. It's a little bit chilly. Didn't bring my scarf. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishala. I have Johan on camera and I have some noisy elephants behind us. So we are following up on this leopard, but we are going to just, because it just, can you hear? Just have a listen. Of course, they don't want to scream and shout as soon as I mention it. But we're going to get going. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. And it's your live safari, everyone. So chat to us, give us your questions and your comments using that hashtag WildEarth or @FC on the YouTube chat stream. You can also go to our website. You can register and use our questions and comments box. All our lovely kids questions at wildearth.tv. So how about we get going? So last night, Mawati, which was the leopard that we saw, he caught a scrub hare and he ate it right in front of us here. And then on the way back to camp after leaving this area, we saw Kara. Kara is another small female. She's rather small. That's what made me think it was her. We didn't get a really good look, but it was definitely not Tlalamba or Shudulu, the other females in the area. And she was actually walking towards Mawati, and just as show ended, he lifted his head up and looked in that direction. So I wonder if they met up. I'm not sure. But we're going to try and find out. So let's swing around to these elephants, and I'm going to send you over to Ngala to say good morning.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ngala Private Game Reserve, where in front of you here we currently have one of the dominant males for the Birmingham Pride. And we were fortunate enough to just come across him walking about in the bush. And you can see he's steadily walking as though he is on a mission to get to somewhere. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Roel, and behind the camera we have got Gert. And this morning we had set out to try and find the Birmingham Pride. And I can gladly say we have managed to find at least a few members of the Pride. Now, in the direction that is heading in, if you look carefully there, you will see that there is a lioness right in front of him. And I think that's one of the lionesses with the 2 cubs that were born last year, I think around April. So they are almost a month. And earlier on, there was audio of another male further north of here. And we think maybe these 2 males could be trying to find each other. And I'm sure you can hear in the background, there's a wildebeest not too far from these guys that has been alarming, but it doesn't really look like these lions are any interested at him at all. beautiful male there. You know, a couple of years ago, his mane was all blonde. It's nice to see that it's starting to pick up a lot of dark color towards the end there. And I do know that one of these cubs there yeah, so at 15, I think you are right. You know what? I actually think that maybe when these two males moved into our property, we may have actually underestimated the strength of their coalition as brothers. And they have done well because they started here at least 3 years ago. And they are still dominant up until this day. Come the end of this year, I think they were seen for the first time around December 2017. And come December this year, and if they're still here, that'll be 4 years in their dominancy. That's a long time for male lions to be there. It means that they have fought off all the challenges there. So we may have overlooked or underestimated their strength. But they are impressive lions when you look at them. Now they are even bigger than they were when they got here. You can see him licking there. There's a yawn. I see at this time of the day, he's probably been on the move the whole night, scent marking the other half of his territory, patrolling and making sure that no rivals come in, because at this stage, he's got a lot of babies in the pride that he would like to see survive. So I think for him, protecting this territory and making sure that no rivals come in will be very, very good. Because then, at least he gives his own legacy a chance to survive. You can see a bit of scars on the face there. You can see he's also grooming. Also signs of him showing that maybe a little bit tired and he wants to rest. And in fact, I think that now that he's found this lioness, even though his brother was calling further north, I think he might decide to join up with him a bit later on. Spend some time with this lioness and the two cubs there. So you can see, if you look up there, it's also a little bit cloudy. Our weather today is, at the moment, it's drizzling a little bit. And we're just not sure if this rain is going to come down, but it's still nice and cool with a bit of cloud cover.
Good morning and welcome to Tswalu Kalahari. Another beautiful morning here at Tswalu Kalahari. As you can see there, we've got little Greep with its 2 chicks. Quite a busy morning for that female right there. Starting to feed her little ones there. It's going to be a busy morning for her. She has to keep doing that almost all morning. Look at that. My name is Obakeng. It's been quite a while since you guys saw my face, and I'm so delighted to be back on the show here. Behind the camera, I've got BK doing a very wonderful job for us there, and we are here at Tsukuru Dam. One of my favorite dams actually here at Tswalu. Look at that beautiful skyline. The sun hasn't really come over the mountain, but you can see that kiss of gold and pink over the clouds there. I mean, this is what makes Africa such a delight for sunrises and sunsets. Look at that. We also have some Egyptian geese also getting into the dam there, coming also to start foraging and so on. And these little ducklings or gooselings have really come a long way. When we first started seeing them, they were very, very tiny. Probably lost 1 or 2, but majority of them have made it, and it looks like they'll make it through adulthood if they're already that big. Calm on the surface and frantic underneath. That's the way life should be. Leon, which is the most populated duck species in Tswalu? It would probably be your white whistling duck that we see in numbers. I don't know if Egyptian goose fall under ducks, but if so, then because we call them duck goose instead of ducks, I think then that would be the answer. But if we're looking specifically for the word duck and the number, it would probably be your white-faced whistling duck. Quite a little bit smaller than your Egyptian geese, and they've got this feature of a white face, almost making like a C from just over their eye onto almost the neck, and they make a very high-pitched whistling sound, hence the name. So yes, that's the duck that we get here in numbers. We have other ducks, but probably you get them in pairs and so on. Quite a beautiful and peaceful scene. We're gonna be moving on, try find some tracks and what else we can find for you guys in the morning. And meantime I do that, I will send you to Steve on another very beautiful location in Africa. Enjoy.
Good morning, and welcome to a beautiful dawn here in Djuma Private Game Reserve, where we actually are in fact in Buffelshoek Private Game Reserve in the north of the Sabi Sands. We're right up against the Manuleti boundary after finding the lion tracks going straight into Manuleti. They've gone for the day, but my name is Steve, joined by Bo on camera, and we are blessed to have you with us. And we thought we might start with an opening segment of that. So if you're right to that, we're just going to allow you just to enjoy what we believe to be an absolutely beautiful start to the day. So we're going to move on back to Djuma and go and do some more tracking while we send you over to Taylor and the Bushwalk team.
I'm so excited, even though it is a little bit of an overcast morning, that we've got the southern ground hornbills in sight on Impala Plains. Now, we've actually been trying to find them for quite some time. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Niels. And like I said, we're here at Impala Plains, which is part of Pridelands Conservancy, Baluli Game Reserve, and the Greater Kruger, although the Greater Kruger extends behind us. Now, Impala Plains is one of my favorite areas to walk. Firstly, because the grass is not up and underneath my chin, so I can actually see what's happening. But for the last few mornings, we've heard the rhythmic calls, the doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, doo-doo, that sort of sound that comes from the southern ground hornbills. Now, if you remember, maybe, I think it was about the end of last year or early January, I spent quite a bit of time with this particular group of southern ground hornbills, which there are 3 individuals, and we can only just see the one at the moment. And I think that they've now realized that we're here. We managed to sneak up on them, but the fact that they've stopped calling suggests that I think they might know that we're here. But this is really good, because the first time we encountered this endangered bird on foot, they flew away. They were not having any of it. They marched away. But I'm happy to see that over time and us constantly trying to walk them and not to get too close either, they're starting to relax with us. And that, of course, is a very important part of what we as guides do, is the habituation of animals. I've said this before, we're not trying to make the animals tame that you can touch them, but we want them to feel comfortable with our presence so that they can go about with their normal days. So that's how we knew these hornbills were here, was by their call. I didn't see them. It's such a lovely sound. And this is a really, really nice area for them to sort of move around. Now, southern ground hornbills, obviously, as their name suggests, they spend lots of time on their ground, and they have really, really big territories. So I'm not 100% sure, and I've said this also, I think that it is the same flock of birds that we see just to the east of us on Kwenga, where the Southern Ground Hornbill project that's done within these areas have actually identified a natural nest. And that's on the Mohlebetsi River, not too far away from here. Well, as the crow flies or as the hornbill flies, it would take us a bit of time to walk there. So they do come through here, and it's typically the same 3 that we see. I haven't really been able to photograph them, though, to confirm this, but it's just nice that they are hanging around and spending more and more time here. I was hoping they were going to start calling, but that does not seem to be the case. And yes, you're correct. They are indeed the largest hornbill species. There is another ground hornbill species, the Abyssinian ground hornbill. We obviously don't see that here. We see that further up north in Africa. But they are amazing. I mean, you look at them, you don't think that they're a hornbill. Well, if you get a close-up view and you see their really big eyes, their massive beaks, they resemble the southern red-billed and southern yellow-billed hornbills that we constantly see all the time. But these birds are far more powerful. I mean, they can weigh up to almost 4 kilograms, between 3 and 4 kilograms. Females tend to be slightly bigger, and there's also a bit of a color difference, but we won't go into that because you can't really see them. But even though the black and the red, that's quite a contrast to the bush. Because the grass is so long, they become invisible as they sort of slink away. And now at this time of the year, there's so much food available for them. There's an abundance of insects. When you're that size of a bird, you want to eat bigger meals. You want to eat big crickets, which there tend to be a few of. Lots of little murids, so mice and that's not a word, mice and rats running about, and even the odd reptile. And if there's any tortoises that have come out on a warm day, well, they best beware if they're out here in Impala Plains and the hornbills are trolling about.
It's the month of March and Wild Earth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the Wild Earth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply. Wild Earth explorer Jenny recently joined Tristan as he broadcast live from Djuma.
Awesome to kind of have a guest on board. I'm looking forward to this. This is Jenny.
Hi everyone.
And Jenny is the first of our Ticket to Dream holders.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Literally being with Tristan on the vehicle today has been incredible. It has truly been a dream come true.
Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
I would highly recommend being a part of the Explorer program and being able to be a part of an interactive live drive.
I'm Nikki here at Ambion Ngala in South Africa. I love getting questions from viewers about all the small things within the environment and how it all is integrated with one another. If you want to ask me any questions, please simply register with the Wild Earth website, head across to the Live Safari page and then post your questions there. I'm looking forward to chatting to you on my next Wild Earth drive.
And down goes that female. You can see at least all these lines are all showing signs of wanting to rest. I think the birds got startled that side and caught the attention of that male. You could see him lifting up his head to have a look. So when those birds get startled by anything and they make that noise, often it's predators. But in most cases it could be snakes, mongoose, anything else that could be walking in the area. Lions, leopards, even hyenas. I think he just had a quick look to see if he'll see anything. You can see his eyes are closed. Now you can tell, if you look at his head properly, you'll see it slowly going down. And he just wants to sleep and rest. But surprisingly, even though lions are known to be the kings out here, they also don't really go into that deep sleep. So he will take what we call cat naps. Even though his head and body will be resting, but his senses are still sharp. And any sound or scent, you'll see that he catches on, he'll quickly just lift up the head to have a look. Because anything could change at any point. If a herd of elephants walks by, especially with cubs, Tom, you're asking if there are any other coalitions on Ngala or near Ngala. So on Ngala, I don't think that there are a coalition of other males, but around the property, I think there is a lot. Remember, there are a lot of lions that are nomadic. And at this stage, I know that around between Singita and Satara, which is further east from here, there is at least a coalition of 4 males altogether. And those are still nomadic, they don't have a territory. So all around us, there's probably a lot of males that are wanting to take over a territory at some point. And this is one of the reasons why the males are constantly scent marking and patrolling. And sometimes you just see them come back with fresh open wounds and scars on their faces. Could have been in a fight with one or two of those coalitions out there. You can see he's decided to put his head down, just to rest. And with the weather being this cool, you can see where they're lying down is an open area. So unless the sun comes out, there is actually no point in them trying to find shade. If it stays like this the whole day, you could easily be lying down there the whole day. Wonder how long that young one will stay up like that before deciding to go down flat. It also seems to be quite interested in the wildebeest that's been going on around them. And in that direction that cub is looking in is where the wildebeest is. Earlier on, he even decided to take a walk and try and approach the wildebeest. We'll stay a little bit longer here with these lions. So in the meantime, we'll send you guys over to Taylor in the Pride Lands.
Well, even though there is a slight drizzle upon us at the moment, we have been searching for this insect since I arrived back to do bushwalks here for Wild Earth on Pridelands, and we are looking at the beautiful ruby Gnedia flower, which is quite prominent throughout the Lowveld, especially this area. But my favorite thing is now just sitting in the center of the plant, and that is called a rainbow shield bug. I'm not sure if we've seen them in the past. I definitely haven't seen rainbow shield bugs for a very, very long time. So I was very surprised this year to see them all popping out. And now you're probably wondering, Taylor, you've just said it's raining. How come the sun is shining on the flower? That's because I'm using my torch. This is a little old trick that you can use to enhance, I suppose, settings. Got my torch, not quite a spotlight, my flashlight, as some of you may call it. And then, of course, just popping it onto the flower just to create an opportunity for you to all take some lovely screenshots and share them with everybody. Now, these insects are all over the ruby gonidias at the moment. They love to eat flowers. They eat different parts of the plant, but you typically find them buried inside the flowers just like this. And they've just got the most gorgeous, gorgeous carapace. You can see as the light starts to hit it, you get shimmers of green and orange and red. And sometimes on the larger ones, because this is quite a young beetle still, or bug, not beetle, but you get some blues as well. Now, Pile, you've asked if these bugs are poisonous. That's a really good question, because typically when we see brightly colored insects out here, I'm just going to stand up for 2 seconds because I can't feel my legs anymore. Sorry. So essentially when we do start to see brightly colored, contrasting colors on insects or even reptiles and frogs and things like that, it normally means that they have some kind of an aposematic coloration. So essentially that is an indication that they could be poisonous. These ones, I wouldn't want to eat them because they have got thoracic sort of little glands which they will excrete a foul-smelling secretion. It's not very nice. A lot of the stink bugs and the shield bugs have this as a defense. So yes, I would definitely not eat this one. But just as a rule of thumb, if you do see brightly colored things, rather just avoid them. Although there are some creatures that have become really, really good and have worked out that they can mimic the colors of these poisonous sort of creatures, and they'll be left alone too. Well, most of the time anyways. But you can just see, let's just have a quick look. Let me put my torch a bit brighter. You can see there's a nice big grouping of these ruby gonidias. There's also some Weltherias. There's lots of flowering grasses. There's a number of different flower species and grasses around here. And on a nice warm day, this is going to be a host for lots of insects, butterflies, and you name it. The ants would definitely be here getting some pollen or maybe even feeding on some of the sweet nectar. But we're going to try and cover ourselves underneath a tree. Off we go to Steve, who's got an animal much larger than the insect we were looking at.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, we got a small herd of elephants here that have also decided to move into the cover. Not sure if we're going to see them again. It's gotten very thick here. I've come back onto Djuma as the tracks of the Telematis went west. We're going to follow up. There we go. There goes an elephant. I'm not going to stay in shot for very long. We're going to follow up on Gallagher Pan, and you're going to need to go to Trish for the explanation of this, because she heard a squealing this morning. So, Jared, please, if you would just let Trishala know that she needs to know, let the viewers know what kind of squealing it is that I'm going to be following up on. So Trish will let you know shortly, and maybe some of you can piece together what kind of noise that animal is that she's going to demonstrate. If she's not too shy, of course. I've never known a shy Trishala in my life, so I'm almost certain she's going to embellish us with her noise. But there's a very small herd of elephants here. We can only count 3, but there's often more than you think. They've come in from the north. 2 big females and a small calf. There should be more somewhere. Maybe they're up ahead a little bit. It's a wonderful morning. It's nice and cool. We definitely are seeing our elephant populations in this part of the Kruger, Greater Kruger, diminishing as the marula season is now done. Many of the elephants move back over to the much sweeter grazing of the basalt soils. Many of the bulls, once coming out of must, will head back up north into the thick Mopani belts, where there's abundance of food. Although low quality, there's an abundance of it, where they go into a sort of restful state for a few months to build up condition again. And then in the winter months, you find many of our elephants will come back to these parts. We regard these areas as very good winter grazing. And really, definitely it's a condition thing. If an elephant bull isn't in the right condition, he can't go into must, almost like a breeding in for a bird. So big dominant bulls definitely go into a sustained period of must for 2 to 3 months at the most optimum time. So there's definitely something that they are able to choose to do, but their condition has to be good. If a big bull comes across a younger bull and the younger bull is in must, that younger bull can just drop right out of must again. But then he can come back in and out of must. So it's definitely an interesting concept. How exactly they go about bringing themselves in and out of must is hard to say. But it definitely seems to be some elephants are coming from the right, just as we think we've seen them all. It definitely is an interesting concept. But I think it's something that they get into a habit of doing. For example, the females come into estrus at a preferred time so as to knock on the effect of dropping their calves in the correct season. Whether they are able to control that or not is hard to say. They might just not favor mating in the time when it's out of season. But it definitely has popped into the cycles of estrus, calving and must. Definitely is a sort of pretty standard time, but there are a few females that come into estrus out of season, and that is why certain males are able to come in and out of must to mate with those females. That waterbuck is there. Goodness me, he's a very brave fellow. Elephant don't often tolerate other animals too close to them. And on top of the hill there is a seep line that the elephants are drinking out of. Very interesting. There we go. Now the waterbuck's moving. There's possibly two answers to that. One is that they can smell the water, and the second is that they learn it. Obviously, when water's in abundance, there's not too much need for understanding where they're going, but as the seasons dry up, the older females have learned the ways, they've learned where the water is, and they guide the rest of the herd there to those hidden away watering spots. Definitely learned information passed on, so we can sort of associate ourselves so similarly with elephants. Our nomadic lifestyle, hunter-gatherers in the landscape would have passed on that information about their preferred hunting grounds, the seasonal water points, the different fruits, and all of that. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. We're going to go check for what was making the noise, and then we're going to send it to Trish so she can show you exactly what it sounded like.
Ah, the sound, the squeal that I heard this morning that Steve was very amused by. Before I tell you about the squeal, maybe I should start by telling you about the squeal. It was chilly and dark outside. It was about 5:15, and then at Gallagher Pan I heard with the hands. They have to do it with the hands. It sounded like, to be very specific, like a bush baby getting taken by a genet. It's just something about that, about the sound. Anyway, it amused Steve very much. Now I've followed Mawati's tracks all the way to the junction of Zoe's and Philemon's cut line, which is right near the boundary, the southern boundary of Djuma. But I don't see his tracks exiting Djuma, at least not to the east of that junction. So now I'm going to check the west of that junction, because it is very unlikely that he came all that way and didn't cross. Heaps and heaps of lion tracks here, though. So we can have a quick look. Plenty of lion tracks all the way down. Do you think we'll be able to? Do you want to frame them up so we can have a look? Yeah. They're definitely coming out of Djuma and heading to the east, but these are not terribly fresh because, as you can see, they're only on the parts of the road where cars haven't driven. So not terribly fresh at all. Hi, Christopher. You'd like to know if I can tell the condition of an animal by its tracks? Only if it is having a problem, only if the problem is something that would affect how they walk, like a limp. A limp, or maybe they drag their foot, something like that, but that's it. Otherwise, not. Plenty. Actually, looks like they came from Little Gowrie, turned into Djuma, then turned straight out of Djuma, and kept on going east. So yeah, you can't really. So it's not as if they're in bad condition or malnourished or something like that, that their paws will become smaller, because a lot of the paw is structural components of the body, not fat or muscle. A lot of it is just bone and cartilage, tendons, etc. So that doesn't get reduced if the animal loses weight. I mean, it might, but minuscule amounts. So it's very difficult to tell the condition of an animal from the track unless it's got an injured foot. Now it comes to tracking Mawati, there's only so much you can do until you gotta kind of just realize that he's not the type of leopard that likes to be tracked or likes to be found, and we haven't seen him in such a long time, and we can just kind of accept that we had a nice sight last night. It's okay, hopefully we'll have more. But I'll keep checking the boundary. I've already checked this area. I'll show you where over the junction where his last tracks were. Hi Claire, you'd like to know what my most important scent is when I'm tracking? It's a difficult one because, like, when something is immediate, when something's happening right away, all those senses are so important. But for me personally, I think sound is, my sense of hearing is the most critical. His tracks kind of stopped just there at those silver cluster leaves. And then I didn't see any coming out here, but as you can see, the sand is not great. So perhaps it's just difficult to see. So Claire, when I get an audio cue that something is happening, for me that's the most important one, because it means that something's happening right now. Tracks, which will be a visual cue, tracks means that something was here at one point. I can tell how fresh it is, but it's not happening right now. So I'll always be that few minutes, if not hours, behind an animal. So I think that audio is very important. But when finding that animal is imminent, audio, tracks, and scent, very important. Being able to smell the leopard scent marking, and that has scent marked, knowing that it's very fresh. Sometimes when it rains, that scent mark or that urine smell is strong again, even though the animal was not recently there. But we know that. Because we know that it's been raining. But if I smell that there's a leopard, then I'll check. I'll say, oh, are these tracks actually that good? And then I'll park off for a little bit and listen and use all those senses together. Anyway, let me send you over to Steve and some elephants. I'm going to hopefully find some more tracks for Mawati.
Well, hello everybody. We've made it to Gallagher Pan, where the screams that Trish was talking about emanated from, and this big female elephant is semi-relaxed. She's a little bit agitated. She's got a calf that's just run off into the bushes that's not that relaxed. And the blacks with lapwings are bombing the elephant, trying to distract her. She's a little bit stressed. You can see she's been streaming out the temporal glands. So on our arrival towards the pan, we had the tracks of a male leopard that came from this side. Now that she's back in the thickets, she's relaxed again. They were just having a drink. No doubt they picked up the residual smell of something. That residual smell can stay for quite some time, everybody. And if there was a murder of some sort, it would definitely be something that the elephants would have picked up on. The youngster, a bit more sensitive to it than the adult. But now that they're in the thickets, completely relaxed again. I always find females and breeding herds often aren't that relaxed out in the open. They will often dart for cover, and once in the cover, they feel much more sort of at home. Maybe remnants of their days as a forest elephant. You got him, Paul. Very inquisitive little one. Once we get past these elephants, we'll go and have a look around the pan, see if we can figure out if anything did take place there last night. Haley sniffing. They're due to smell, trying to figure out what's going on. She's very relaxed, this female. Her calf is not that relaxed. Are you happy, Paul? Calf's not that relaxed, but the calf's picked up on a smell that Mum said wasn't a good smell. And because there's just the two of them here, calf's feeling a little bit vulnerable. So the lifting of the trunk up into the air is a classic case that the animal's trying to smell what's going on. If you find that big adult elephants are doing that, they're sticking their trunk up in the air, then you must just be quite aware of what's going on, because if she's not certain of what's going on and she's trying to figure you out, that can often lead to sort of a negative sort of reaction. Obviously, the calves, it's not the same sort of story. Eating this lovely red bush willow. Hello, Mama, what's going on? What have you seen last night? She's just testing the air, trying to assess whether we are a threat or not. She knows we're not. Busy eating. This is proper eating. This is not displacement feeding. Stripping the leaves. Oh, she's onto the black monkey thorn. So now I'm not sure, but the rest of that herd that we saw a little while ago were slowly heading in this direction. You know, they do get distributed amongst, you know, the vegetation from time to time. They'll always keep in communication with each other. But there is a female, and it's not this one. There is a female that's hanging around. It's just her and her two calves. She's been like that for 3 years. I've never seen her with any others. But the thing is, you arrive at Gallagher Pan here and we just see the two, but we don't know how many have already gone back into the bush. It's possible there might be more around. It's okay, Mama. Bellinzona, you're correct. The hyrax is, from a taxonomical point of view, the closest related. And how these things work is that it's got to do with the toes on the front foot. Elephants have got 5, as do hyraxes. Toes on the back foot, elephants have got 4, so do hyraxes. Elephants and both hyraxes have got mammary glands between the front legs. You don't find many animals with that, many 4-legged animals. And then they have both got tusks. So from an evolutionary point of view, they can trace back both and they walk in the road. Became that we know became obviously due to habitat choice, habitat preference, what they feed.
All right, so we decided to leave these 3 animals, or those 4 with the mother and the 2. And because we wanted to try and see if we can look for the other male that was responding to the contact calling of that one male that we saw just now. And we did find tracks on this road that we're driving on, But tracks of him were heading further north, which is the direction that we're heading in. And it looks like tracks have cut off to the right. So what we're going to do, we're going to get to the next road and just do a loop to the other side. You know what, there's also fresh track here of buffalo. So we'll do a loop to the other side and see if maybe we will be any lucky on that side. We'll try and see if we can look for his tracks, or if maybe we can be fortunate enough to spot him. I also think that at this time of the day, he is also looking for a nice place where he can rest and settle down for the afternoon. So having him contact call and heard his brother's call, he probably knows that he is somewhere close by. So I think we're gonna try and look in these open areas and see if we'll find him. Also because the whole of Birmingham Pride is scattered, so it's possible that he could have also found other members of the Pride and settled down, which would be great to see what's going to happen. Maybe he could have also walked to check on the other lioness that has got the small youngsters. You can see we have some impalas just in front of us. Yeah, I just constantly keep looking on the road just to see that we don't miss his tracks that cross the road. Because if he turned east and he changes direction, we could easily just drive past his tracks and then lose which way he went. That's a nice looking male impala over there, and you can see
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
All right, so the search is still on. We did have fresh signs and tracks of buffalo also coming in towards this direction. So hopefully we will be lucky with either one of them. I am really hoping that we get to find these other lines. Yeah, I'm really hoping that we get to find them. And even if we don't, we'll just carry on with the search. So I think while we carry on searching, let you guys over to Trish.
So the tracks of Mawati did exit, but I managed to find this guy instead. It looks like Sibuyi's son Shasha, and he's having an amazing, very exciting time. He's been jumping around, trying to catch little things, and now he's on Twin Dam's wall. Very nice to see him. In fact, if I wasn't patrolling the boundary looking for Mawati's tracks exiting, I wouldn't have found him. So that's some really great leopard luck. Oh, he's just looking out onto the dam. Now, he's not super comfortable with the vehicles. Still a little cub-like, but this is a good distance. He might let us come a little bit closer, but I think he still needs to get used to the fact that we're following him. Then he might let us. He's not nervous, he just doesn't like the car too close to him. Still a little unsure. Very curious. You are so curious. Jamal, you'd like to know how old he is? Yeah, I think he's about 1.5 to 2 years. Sibuyi's cubs, I can't actually remember exactly when they were born. He's gone down. Let's see if we can catch up. But he's definitely older than Marib's, and Marib's is 1 year. And he's around the same age as Kuchava's son, I think. Kuchava's son might be a little bit older. But I always remembered they're around the same age. He's there. used to the dam. So usually you'll find him on Chitwa or on Little Gowrie, and we can't go into Little Gowrie. And so we're quite lucky to have him on Djuma. But I think spending all that time and growing up on Chitwa, he must have gotten quite used to the dam. So maybe we're going to see him fish. Or even have a swim. That would be something. White-faced whistling ducks calling. You know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to swing round to the other side of the dam so we can see him face on. Benenzona? Hello. You'd like to know if leopards are related to pumas, jaguars, or tigers? Yes, they are. They're all cats, but they're not terribly closely related to either. In fact, they're most closely related to lions. Being Panthera, and genetically, even though they look very much like jaguars. They're closely related to jaguars too, but I think genetically and mitochondrial DNA, they're most closely related to lions, or common ancestor split for lions, most recently. Okay, let's watch him. It's quite cute. I feel like I'm watching a movie with him all the way on the bank there. Try and figure out what is he doing. Definitely looking for a meal. So, although we were talking about his relatives, he would, of course, be a Panthera pardus, which is a leopard. And jaguar is also a Panthera. Tiger is also a Panthera. But I'm sure in terms of genetics, he's most closely related to a lion. Marcus, you wanted to know what is his diet at this age? It'll pretty much be the same as an adult, because he would still be sharing kills with his mum if he's around, because as you can see, he's not spending a lot of time with his mum anymore. So he'll be taking lots of things that he has the opportunity to. So adults may not take as many birds or fish, squirrels, kind of small mammals. They may not take as many because they realize that the expense which they use to actually, the energy they expend to catch that small prey, they could be using to catch an impala and feed them for longer. But you'll find that youngsters, they're a little bit less patient. So he may catch quite a few mongoose, squirrels, birds, things like that. But his ideal prey at this age would be a duiker. Good size, manageable, but also difficult to catch. He's now watching the ducks, white-faced whistling ducks. Interesting to see what he'll do. to jump onto the ducks. The ducks have realized there's now a leopard there. It's like, no, honey, let's turn around and go on this side of the dam. He might just be enjoying himself, sitting at the edge of the dam. In the grass, nice bit of sunlight, but the air is still cool. Can't say I've seen a scene like this before. Hi JP, you'd like to know if the males spend more time with their mum than the females? Not necessarily. Sometimes, yeah, not necessarily. In fact, what I was about to say is that sometimes you may see a male spend more time as a youngster with its mum. But once they're dispersed, they're out. No more interaction with their mum, or highly unlikely, because they'll disperse out of the area. But the females, the daughters, will have territories that share boundaries with their mum, so they're more likely to see her once they've already reached independence and are territorial. So in the long run, definitely the mothers and daughters are more likely to see each other, but during the time before independence, or just this in time of independence might be, or getting to independence might be a little longer for males. That's just what I've seen. I think we might see him catch something small today. Gorgeous. I can hear other vehicles possibly coming to join the sighting, so I may have to be on the radio. Let's help other people into the sighting, and I'm going to send you over to Steve with these elephants.
Welcome to Gallagher Pan, everyone, where we are preempting the arrival of a whole lot of elephants. Remember, we had that female before with her youngster. We heard some noises in the bush, and we found, close to 50 elephants or so, a couple of bulls causing trouble, a couple of breeding herds with their youngsters, and they are slowly coming out to drink. 2 bulls at the back were here when we got back. They're in their early 20s, doing a little bit of display, and you can see how much bigger they are than the female. And those bulls are not even fully grown yet. She's still going to tell them off. Away from the water where my youngsters are drinking. Play your games elsewhere. So we were hoping more elephants were going to arrive. They seem to have been moving in this direction. One herd has. But there were quite a number more that we lost in the thickets. So that answers the question before about why was that female on her own. She most certainly wasn't. Michael, that's just the way it works. Elephants are a matriarchal society. The biggest and oldest female in the group is normally the leader. The bulls get pushed out at a certain age because they want to play these sort of games. There's no seriousness to life as an elephant bull. Females need to look after youngsters, and, well, bulls don't do that. They just have fun. It sounds like an ideal life, though, to be honest. If I was an elephant, I would definitely want to be a man. One of these naughty guys. They get to push and shove and play with each other all the time. He's going to go back only so far. It's just the way that the society works, you know. I can hear those tusks touching each other. It's all play. There's nothing serious in this. These two brothers or these two friends have known each other for a long time. You can see it in the way they look at each other. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? They've been playing this game for a while. It started off very friendly. It's starting to get a little bit rough. A little rougher, but it's really nothing in comparison to what big elephant bulls can achieve when they get very, very into it. Darcy, and I have. Here comes another female to drink. I have, Darcy, and I have had male elephants normally get irritated and throw stuff at me. You don't really want that to be coming from females. If females are behaving like that, you should probably move on. But bulls, they're just playing. Bulls are having a game. Bulls are playing around. Females, they don't play around. There's no time for playing around in a female society, for the elephants, that is. You might have some youngsters that give you a bit of a hard time, but it's generally young males. And the older the males get, the more relaxed they become. But females also get very relaxed. But if a female ever gets irritated, then you must just check yourself. If something's not right, you've done something wrong, or that elephant is having a very bad day. There might be some predators nearby, something like that. It's better to just move out the way, because when you're a big animal like an elephant, there's something known as displacement anger. And if something's happened to her calf, maybe lions have tried to hunt, or something's happened, you don't even know what, and she's showing enormous amounts of irritation. You might not have particularly done anything, but your presence there is causing her to be more irritated. It's better that you just leave, because if she decides to displace her anger on you, it's not going to be very pleasant. Not going to be very pleasant at all. And although males are much bigger and much stronger, whenever they do behave in a certain way, you can just talk to them and be like, what are you doing that for? Some people don't talk to elephants. I like to. Each to their own. I respond quite well to a calm and gentle voice. These two are going to be pushing each other around all day. Okay, so here comes the other herd that we wanted to see. This female over here, she's got a few youngsters with her. She did anyway. She's noticeable, you'll see in a moment, by the fact that she's obviously wallowed in some very whitish sort of ash-coloured mud. I think it was her. See how they come to the sort of edge of the clearing? Have a little look around. Valenzuela, they're not actually like trees. It's ivory, so it's a tooth. So there's long seams inside of them, and it's very beautiful and intricate stuff, tusks, but they're growing from the bottom like a tooth does. So it's not like trees that are expanding and expanding with different growth seasons, although you can see that in the tail hairs of an elephant. The tusks, or ivory, is a very different material altogether. Here she comes. Okay, I'm just going to be quiet for a moment while we watch this beautiful matriarch walk out, almost strutting her stuff. Now she's watching this young bull approach. Young bull was very tentative to enter the ring, and now she's basically given him a look to say, "Oi, my baby drinks first." He's going to go all the way around. How about you all send through a little one-word tweet to let me know how this sort of scene makes you feel. Safari detective says peaceful. There are more coming. More herds on the way. This female has just smelled something. That's what the other female, when we first got here, had picked up on. Something of a predatory nature has been here, and she's just checking out how long ago. On our way in, we had tracks of a male leopard that had come from this area. That female and a youngster weren't 100% relaxed to it. The two bulls, though, when we got here, couldn't care, because nothing really bothers a big elephant bull, apart from other elephants. Here comes another young bull. Let's see how he interacts with the herd. Straight in. Oh, respectful, Sarah Wolf, very respectful. This one must be related to the two. Jessica, heartwarming indeed.
of you Wild Earth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumble crew, hopefully Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
I'm absolutely delighted to have won the February prize draw for 3 nights for 6 people at the Djuma Private Game Reserve. I absolutely love everything Wild Earth has to offer. I find the guides extremely knowledgeable and will go above and beyond to ensure a great safari experience. I will be taking my husband and family from the UK to experience this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. One of the main reasons I joined the Wild Earth Explorer program was for the fireside chats and also to win an incredible prize, which I am so fortunate to win and incredibly happy. I would like to thank Wild Earth for this amazing prize and cannot wait to meet the team.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Welcome back, everybody. The elephant energy is strong with us this morning, and I must go back to a point we were making a bit earlier when I believe we lost signal. Paul, can you get this female here with the beautiful tusks and another calf following? We're talking about the Dassie and the elephant, and at one point in the lineage, the elephant/Dassie animal was something that resembled a duiker. Almost like a dik-dik with a large sort of top lip, which would have included a nose, which they would have used for feeding. So they basically used their nose to assist, or their top lip to assist in feeding. And what happened is the climate changed. We had a huge change of climate. We had the savannas opening up and a loss of predominant forest vegetation, which would have been all over the globe. In Africa specifically, the tropics changed to subtropics, and the savannas with the open grassland and the mixture of trees. And so what that led to was a change in herbivore structure, herbivore heights, body weights, and all of that. And so a fork in the road was hit. The Dassie or the hyrax picked a very particular type of habitat niche, and it was favored in that direction, being on rocks, possibly trees, feeding low to the ground. Their body size got smaller, they got covered in fur, but everything about them still resembled very much that of the modern day Dassie. And the elephant got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the bigger you are out here as a vegetarian, the more sort of adaptable you are to temperature changes and temperature extremes. And as the elephant body mass got bigger, it started developing bigger legs to support such a body mass. And then to support the body, the neck also became a lot heavier and thicker, which meant that the nose was further and further away from the vegetation they were looking to feed on. And so that growth of the nose became longer and longer and longer until eventually the top lip and nose joined to show what the elephant looks like now. Looking at animals like an okapi, for example, and dik-diks are indications of what the animal probably looked like at some point. Okay, well, what a wonderful morning with elephants. I'm going to go back and find them on that side, because maybe they're going to come out into the open clearing of quarantine, and then we can see the whole grouping together. I was hoping a whole lot were going to come out at the same time to drink. Anyway, you can't always have what you want. So definitely none of these animals are what was screaming last night that Trishala was making any noise of. Jory, they do seem so calm and collected, and that's something for you to remember. When they're not calm and collected, there's a problem. Okay, now a lot of people see elephants here in the Sabi Sands and certain parts of the Kruger, and they often ask me, so how do you know if an elephant is upset? You'll know if they're upset. They make a lot of noise. They look at you in a very specific way that makes you go, uh-oh, I better move. And when you see those signs, if you do happen to find yourself being a tourist, a self-drive tourist, I know my dad, who is watching right now, likes to take the family to the Kruger. So understanding the subtle signs that elephants show, you'll know if they're annoyed with you or not. And there are places in Kruger, especially the further north you go, that elephants will let you know very soon after hearing you or smelling you that they are not happy with your presence. And it's a very obvious sign, very obvious sign. But I love it when we do find a herd of elephants where there's a couple of naughty little youngsters that like to misbehave. I enjoy that a lot. There we go, caught up with one of them. Who is this now? This is one of those first females that came through. They are heading slowly towards the open area, so let's just go to this junction here and stop, and we might get them. A little bit more. Goodness God, I've got so many memorable moments with elephants. It's hard to say which is the most memorable, but it's probably always got to be with them on foot. Elephants on foot, there's just something profoundly in the moment about that. Okay, here we go. We've got some in front. I've got so many profound moments with elephants. Being with them in the fever tree forest in Makuleki is something that I absolutely love. I've got quite a number of trails booked now this year to Pafuri in the Kruger to take guests exactly on those experiences with elephants in the magical fever tree forest. The fever tree forest is like a magical oasis, a magical fairyland that could come out of the Lord of the Rings sort of movies and books, with these beautiful yellow-green fever trees spaced all about 4 or 5 meters apart with almost nothing growing underneath them. From 400, 600 meters, you can see elephant bulls. You can make approaches, sit down on the ground, far away from them and watch them just walk past you, and it is just so profound. Elephant bulls up there are just so unbelievably attractive. Let me move up here. The breeding herds of elephant, funny enough, don't really hang out in the fever tree forest up there. They go from the pan to the other pan. They go straight through the middle, and that again has got to do with the cover. There's not an enormous amount of cover with those interspaced trees. There's almost no ground cover, no bush. So the herds feel a little bit isolated or exposed. So that's why I often talk about, here we go, here's an elephant bottom. I often talk about elephants not really enjoying spending time out in the open. So in the fever tree forest, you'll actually see them go from the one pan and they run straight across the forest to the other side, and then they hit the thickets and they feel happy again. So I'm looking to do some more profound elephant experiences this year. But while we contemplate our next move, I'll send you over to Trishala.
I managed to catch up with him. He's been going round and round the dam, then he went into the Mawati, now he's up here on Ledwood Road. Isn't he really big and gorgeous, you know? Actually, now I do remember, I think he was born around August 2019. So yeah, about a year and a half. It's amazing how these bits of knowledge gets kept away in weird places in your head, and then all of a sudden, boom, it comes out. Look at that tail. Side to side, what's going on? Where do you want to go? You want to come back towards us? Okay. So beautiful with that green grass. I think he's a bit unsure of where to go. You know, Kalama used to do this too. Sniff at the bottom of big bushes. You know, where it's really dense. I think she must have occasionally been successful with Franklin and stuff like that, because they'll sometimes run into the under bush. Maybe that's what he's looking for too. William, you'd like to know if he'll still get bigger. Yep, he definitely will. He's only a year and a half, so he's not nearly in his prime for a leopard. Between 5 and 7, and really, they're big, they've got a nice dewlap. If you look at Mhlangula, he's in the north. He's a big leopard in his prime. He's about 7 or 8. So he is going to get bigger. At the moment, he looks like he's probably the size of his mother. He's definitely got the same stance as his mother. The way that she stands, he kind of stands in a similar way. I know you'd think, how many different stances could a leopard have? But something about the way he was standing earlier just made me think, gosh, you look just like your mother. And then I felt old. I'm just going to reverse a little bit and give him some space, because I wonder if he wants to come this way. And he's just not sure what his story is. Either way, I want to give him some space. He has a choice. We'll just tuck off to the side here a little bit more. That way we'll be able to see him. And he's got space if he needs it. There we go. Nancy, you say such a good-looking boy. Absolutely. It's so nice in 2 days to see 2 male leopards on the property. Feels like we haven't seen males in such a long time on Djuma. And I'm very glad that our leopard luck is still around. Can tap into it. I love, these are leopards, or this is a leopard, and last night too, even the last few leopard sightings we've been having, lots of leopards that we don't normally see or we don't spend a lot of time with. Kuchava's son, Bowati, Kara, Steve's been spending a lot of time with Kara, Shasha, Langa. Those are leopards that we don't get to spend a lot of time with. We always just have, a brief sighting. And when we're in a sighting like this, where it feels like we're actually spending a substantial amount of time with them, I almost get so absorbed into just watching them, getting to know them. The way they move, their personality, the way they pounce, the way, they look at you. All those things are so special. I can just see him. There's his tail. There's he coming out. Oh. Roxanne. Oh, hello. You want to come say hi? Okay. Roxanne, you say that all the leopards in Djuma must be related in some way. Some of the time. For example, Shasha here is not related to any of the other leopards that we know, besides obviously his mother Sibui and his sister. But Sibui comes from Mala Mala, which is to the south of us. So she's not part of the Karula lineage. But, for example, Tandi, Tlalamba, they are related. Maribs, obviously. Possibility through paternally, many of the leopards could be related. But we don't know the paternity of this cub. It could be Mulwati. For me, the nose looks like Mulwati's, but that's just me. It could be Mulwati. It could be Quarantine. It could be Tingana. But we don't know. But Roxanne, most of the males in the area that are not cubs of females, dominant females in the area, are immigrant. So they've come from another area, they've dispersed here. For example, Tingana is not related to anybody in this area, he's just got offspring. Same for Mulwati. So it's usually the females that tend to be, as we discussed with territories, females share their territories or share a portion of their territory, or rather donate a portion of their territory to their daughters, so then you're more likely to have related females in an area than males. It's very strange. So there's 3 cars in this sighting, and he's kind of like going to each car and having a bit of a sniff, looking at all of us. It's quite interesting. Shreya, as you say, Karula's family lineage is legendary. Absolutely. Absolutely. All the way from Karula's mother, Safari. It's just been a legendary lineage. I mean, Karula was unbelievable. She had so many litters, and many of them successfully raised. But this boy here, not part of the Karula lineage. Unless Quarantine is his father. But it's speculation, or it's purely speculation about his paternity. This might be the last we see of him. There's other vehicles wanting to come in. So I'm going to make some space for them. And there he goes. All right. Wasn't that special? I thought it was really special to spend that time with him. So we're going to head out now, see what else we can find, what other gems will come walking our way. And I'm glad to have spent this time with the leopard with you.
It's the month of March and Wild Earth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the Wild Earth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply. With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an Ellie bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I'll tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
I love being a cam up for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, they're all slowly moving towards the open area here, but they're spreading out into the thickets. That's elephants. Amazing how they can disappear like they do. These gentle giants are silent in the day. And we are truly, there we go, there's one. We're truly blessed to spend the time with them that we do. Hiding in the long grass. You see him there, Paul? Little youngster, clearly not on its own. They're all through this area here. Goes to show you how tall that yellow thatching grass is there. Leanne, elephants keep warm like most animals do by eating. They've got a very large body, so it takes quite a long time for them to get too hot, but then it also takes a very long time for them to get too cold. So if you take a massive, massive drum and you heat it up, it takes a long time to get very hot, but then it stays warm for a while. So that's what elephants do. Their big body size is actually beneficial to them because it's very slow regulation of temperature. But if they do get a little bit cold, they just move around a bit and keep eating. It's not the cold out here that's the concern, it's actually the overheating. We don't really get that cold here in the savannah. Most of the animals that occur in these environments don't actually have an issue with the temperature getting cold, but they have an issue with overheating. So overheating, elephants will stand in the shade, they'll mud bath, they'll swim, and that amazing flapping air conditioning system of the ears is what stands them in very good stead when temperatures get very, very warm. You still see him, Paul? Not really. Let's just go back a little bit. Hello, Gear. Sometimes reverse doesn't like to be found. Look it over, you don't see that. You don't see that. Elephants are very placid with each other. Herds that interact with each other have very likely got a common family relation. They've spent a lot of time with each other. They know each other intimately. Of course, bulls will fight with each other for breeding rights. But you don't see females really interacting negatively with each other. Sometimes there's a female that's, I don't know, there was a female in a herd here 2 years ago or so that the herd didn't want. They kept pushing her away. They kept dominating her, kept shoving her. It wasn't very pleasant to see. I don't know what her story was. Here's a young bull, busy feeding. So a very good sign, everybody, if you do find yourself with elephants and you have them spread all over the place. Casual feeding. All is good. You can go closer. Youngsters this side, youngsters that side. Very good sign. Especially with the amount of noise that a vehicle makes. They definitely know that you're there. He's enjoying feeding off of this little buffalo thorn. He's using his tusk. Joel, yes, definitely. The herds come and go. It's probably the same herds that come in and out of Djuma. Same as with the Timbavati, same sort of herds that come in and out. So they generally are very, very relaxed. They've generally encountered many, many game viewers, many game vehicles. And it's just part of their sort of memory, their sort of, this is where we go in the summertime, because this area is very, very popular for elephants in summer because of the marulas. I think they're sticking around a little bit longer at the moment because we've had so much rain. There's quite a lot of juicy vegetation. But I'm almost certain most of them are going to be moving out soon. We won't find too many again until into winter. But our sort of summer's extended quite a bit because of the late rain. But normally I'm not used to seeing too many elephants in March. Normally many of them have gone again, just like this one, gone hidden behind the bush. Bulls, though, you can find bulls coming and going. They have a very different sort of mindset with regards to movement. Females have their calves to look after. could invariably be pregnant themselves, so they've got a different nutrient requirement to that of the bulls. Whereas bulls, they can stay in an area with a bulk food. It's not very high nutrients, and they can get by. Whereas females need to have access to water, access to the best possible food available. Okay, well, it looks like our elephants have all disappeared. Go back out into the open area, see if we can get another view. Vola, I'm not actually sure, but I think it was in January. Must have been January. Fang is a female's got this tusk that goes down. Very relaxed herd, very relaxed group. Let's see if we can catch up with some more of them. They were all generally heading in this direction, but after drinking, elephant movement really slows down as they spread out. There we go. There's one, there's two, there's three. And here comes another one on the right. Elephants, elephants everywhere. These look like a group of boys. It's always nice. The boys are always walking at the back of the herd. There we go. Now I've caught up with all the elephants. They did a bit of a right turn there. Sold me a bit of a dummy. There we go. All over the place now. The bulls at the back, the females in the front. Never heard that term before, sold the dummy. It's a term from football and rugby where you pretend to pass the ball and you don't. And the objective is to fool your defender. The guy who's supposed to be tackling you ends up moving with the ball that you don't throw, and then you run straight through. Classic move. Look at all of them. All the bulls here on the right. They're all trying to figure out something. Another bull coming in. See how behavior there. The bigger bull moves in. Okay, well, we're going to try to get you a better view of our ellies while we send you over to Taylor on Bushwalk.
Well, we're back at the very same leadwood we were at a few days ago, except it's been chopped up, and what you're looking at right now is a crab spider that has grabbed hold of a fly. So this is so fascinating. I don't know if all of you would have watched one of the sunset safaris. I forget how long ago it was, but we stumbled across a leadwood that had fallen over the road, but it was from an elephant or just because we had a lot of rain. Remember I said that you can see that all the roots have exposed here. But now since our last visit, this tree has been chopped up with a chainsaw to remove it off the road so we can carry on. Now, if you also remember, I said that there was a really sweet, sickly, rotten fruit kind of smell. Every now and then I'm getting it's wafting. It's weird. I can't describe the smell and I can't see where it's coming from. Anyways, so I was chatting to Steph Winterboer. Some of the long-time viewers will know exactly who I'm talking about this exact thing. And because I haven't got a clue, and I've asked a few other people and they don't have a clue either as to why all these insects are here and why that smell is about. He said perhaps something has been unearthed, whether it's a fungi, maybe a flower of some sort, but we still can't really find anything. But it's something that will just remain a mystery. But there you go, you can see the moths and all the flies feeding heavily. See, now I can smell that quite distinctively here. It's weird. It's very, very strange. But it's only on this leadwood that we're seeing all of the flies gathering about here. It's such a strange thing. You can see they've all, like if you look at these ones that are just over here, I don't want to disturb them too much, I won't get my finger too close. You can see that they've got their heads buried into a little crevice. So it must be quite viscous, the fluid that is coming out now, which would be easier for them to feed on. Remember, with flies and certain insect species, their digestive enzymes need to be expelled out onto what they're feeding on. So they'll regurgitate this enzyme and then feed on it, it breaks it down, and then they'll suck it back up. It's so awesome. But then, can we go back to the crab spider? I'm going to put a little bit of light on it, just to illuminate it. It's a bit miserable still. The clouds have come back over and there's a little drizzle. But it is such an amazing color. Now, obviously we know crab spiders typically try and camouflage with their surroundings. This one has not done that. And even when I go up close to the flies and the moths, they seem to be quite oblivious to me, where normally they would fly away instantaneously. So I don't know if they're feeling the effects. They seem to be so mesmerized by the sap, by whatever they're feeding on. But that spider has got a tight grip on that unfortunate fly. Mr. Wild, it is amazing. Nature is always full of surprises. It is such a wonderful thing to see. Now, Niels, if you stay there, I'm just going to bend down because I've seen something else. I'm always looking around. I'm very busy. And then if you come down here onto this little sickle bush, look at this worm. Caterpillar of sorts. Look how it's black in coloration. Let me just get the light right. I don't think I've seen one of this color before. It's black with looks like a little bit of yellow or sort of green on it, and it resembles an inchworm of sorts. So there is so much happening around here. Oh goodness, there's even something else. There's this tiny little spider. Oh, I don't think I've seen this species of spider before. No, don't go under. Okay, defense mechanism, of course, is I'm going to hide away underneath the leaf. We can't see it now, but it was kind of black with some interesting markings on the back that I hadn't seen before. So it was all fascinating. So even these bits and pieces of logs that you've got down here, they've all been chopped off and moved off to the side. Still very much oozing, and all of the insects are around here. But something is obviously attracting them here, and we'll never, ever know what is causing this smell. But I'm going to poke my head around a little bit longer and see if I can find it. Off we go across to some lions.
How amazing is this? See that lioness with the 3 small babies. I think these ones are just around 2.5 to 3 months. If not already 3 months at this age. Looks like that one is just finished suckling, and the other 2 are still suckling there, as you can see. You can see in the sand, still nice and cool. It's out open, nice little breeze coming through. So they are lying down in a very nice spot, unless the sun comes out. If you look, there's another young lioness there with her. And at the top of that little rock, this one Savarat lion is also found. A very nice rock to lay on. I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this, but just above them you can see the trees shaking there. Annette, this is very, very sweet, and I agree. And you know what's terrifying is that above them there's a very large elephant bull that's been pushing down the trees, and he's off walking to the right. Maybe he might come out. I'm very sure that these lions are aware of this elephant's presence. I'm just not sure if the elephant had seen and just decided to carry on with his business. You can see if you look carefully through the bush there. In the background, he's standing there. It's quite a large elephant bull. And should he decide to come down, these animals are going to have to move just to get out of the way. So let's just watch and see what might happen. Nicole, you're asking why is the fur so dark in color? So when they're born, they are very dark actually, and they just become lighter as they grow older. And I think it is just color of the cubs. Maybe that's a different type of fur that helps to protect them against the different type of weather changes. And as they grow older, their body adapts, and then they'll get that normal tawny color. And you can also see these. Damian, are these cubs related to that male that we saw earlier on? Yes. In fact, he is the father of these cubs, including those two that we see there, and including those two that we saw with where he was. So he and his brother are both the fathers of all these small cubs that have just recently been born. And that is why it's important for them to keep their territory a little bit longer, at least for 8 more months or a year, to give these newborn cubs at least a chance to survive. Because if these lions get kicked out and new males move in, unfortunately, the new males will kill these cubs that you're looking at here, because they will not be their own litter. Alright, I think we're gonna sit out here a while and wait to see if maybe that elephant will also decide to come down, maybe get a little bit of interaction. In the meantime, we'll send you guys back to the Pride Lands.
sorry everybody, I don't have any comms at the moment. Apologies for that. I'm just staring at this beautiful flower mantis that we are watching, just sitting on top of a Wealtheria indica, which is the plant that keeps on giving. We often find a host of species on here. I've definitely spoken about these since I've been on bushwalk, and I know throughout the years that we've been privileged to see a number of these mantises. But if you are new and you haven't seen them before, wow. Goodness gracious, you are in for an absolute treat, because in my opinion, I think that they are the most beautiful mantis out there. Now, this is an adult, and I can tell that it is an adult because it has developed wings. So where all those tiny little dewdrops have fallen, or maybe a bit of rain, I'm going to try and steady the plant a bit at the base because the wind is just picking up now. Oh, I'm going to turn around and show everybody. Fantastic, thank you. Very obliging mantis that we have. So all those tiny little dewdrops over there are where the wings are. Now, these plants get completely covered in them because this is the host plant for this particular species of mantis. And when they're nymphs and they haven't quite developed their wings just yet, they're sort of bound to this plant and they blend in beautifully. This one has got quite a few blotches of pink on it, which is nice, quite pretty. And you can even see the antenna is a reddish color, which matches the tips of the flowers that haven't, opened just yet. And even the stem has got a reddish tinge to it. So for something like a hornbill, it would be virtually invisible to see an insect like this just moving around. But the thing that will give this praying mantis away is movement. Obviously, when you've got camouflage like this that blends in very, very well to the vegetation, the idea is that you need to sit as still as possible. And that's why we see so many different species, whether it's with chameleons we see it, and then quite a few different insect species. Maybe you remember that the twig wilter we had the other day. They sort of mimic a piece of vegetation blowing in the wind. This praying mantis might do that at times. It's just moving around now because the wind is blowing it a fair amount. Isn't that awesome, though? And sadly, as the months progress, the insect life is going to get less and less. But I think this year it has been the best it ever has, ever since I've been in the bush, in fact. Now, again, I don't have communication, so I'm going to wait for Niels to tell me. Have there been any questions, Niels? Oh, no, I've got... Wonderful. Okay, it keeps breaking up, unfortunately, so I think we're going to carry on from here and see if we can't find the buffalo herd that we tracked yesterday. But off you go, somewhere else in the wonderful wild. And apologies, Niels just almost tripped.
Welcome back. Got another herd of elephants. The herd of elephants were going crazy just before. The bulls were exerting some stuff on them. I almost feel like there might be a leopard in the area, but there was way too much commotion for us to figure it out. I'm just going to let you all enjoy this as much as I'm going to enjoy it. Truly. They walk towards you. You move over, they walk past. It's exactly what they choose to do. That is the trick. Lots of elephants today. Must be a parade on Djuma. They've all come from Buffelshoek. Walking through Djuma, they're going to go towards Simbambili if they're in this direction. But can you see how they've moved through this area, this open area, quite quickly? They weren't running. They walked through it. Now they've hit the dense vegetation there, and the herd starts to sort of spread out again. That's what I was talking about earlier with the fever tree forest up in the northern Kruger, is that it kind of looks like this, except it's shaded. But there's huge amounts of space between the trees, and so the elephants, breeding herds that is, don't feel they're comfortable in those open spaces, and they move straight through to the other side. Even though they do feed on grass, they like to go and feed on grass that's intermixed with the trees. That seems to be the way. It's not always the case. You often find them in the Masai Mara feeding in the open. Well, that's because that's what options they have. So it's probably a learned behavior. Elephants down here are much more woodland favoring, especially the breeding herds.
On the 27th of April, Wild Earth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what Wild Earth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
Wild Earth explorer Jenny recently joined Tristan as he broadcast live from Djuma.
Awesome to kind of have a guest on board. I'm looking forward to this. This is Jenny.
Hi everyone.
And Jenny is the first of our Ticket to Dream holders.
If you want to go on safari with a Wild Earth guide, whilst honing your bush knowledge and of course featuring in one of our shows, then head over to our website.
Literally being with Tristan on the vehicle today has been incredible. It has truly been a dream come true.
Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer and you could be making your first ever on-screen appearance.
I would highly recommend being a part of the Explorer program and being able to be a part of an interactive live drive.
My name is Lauren and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Now you can see the mother has now turned and looks like all the cubs have finished off and they've had their morning breakfast and it looks like it is just time to nap. On the other hand, that elephant actually moved away, which is good, and it's good for these lions. And I think he decided to go to the opposite side. Right now, I think for these lions, all that's in the back of their head, it is to sleep. And I must say it's a little bit tricky for the female, because now that she has cubs, and now how we always say that lions hunt at night and sleep during the whole day, but sometimes when they've got cubs, that can change. Because remember, at night, there's a lot of predators that are on the move. The leopards are starting to be active, hyenas are starting to be active, everything else starts to be active and all that. So it's not really a safe time to leave the cubs unattended for several hours. Even though sometimes by circumstances they are forced to, but they will come back regularly to just come and have a look, check up on the cubs. And sometimes she just has to try and hunt during the day. It's easier. I think these lions are going to be lying down here the whole day. They might only move if the sun comes out, but it's quite cool where they're lying down. So we're going to send you guys to Steve with these elephants and see what they are up to that side.
Welcome back to Djuma, everybody, where we've caught up. Let me just reposition. We've caught up with our elephants. These ones were on top of the termite mound a moment ago. They're all over the place here. All over the place. Elephants everywhere. They're all small groups, all associated with each other in some way or form. Probably the eldest matriarchs of each of the herds are probably sisters gone by, daughters of mum, relatives in some way. So there's definitely bonding that goes on and familiarity. And there's certain times of the year when all of the herds come together. That one looks very pregnant. I think we saw her this morning. Yeah, she was one of the ones we saw this morning. She was on her own. And so they come together to say hello, to reintroduce siblings, to introduce new babies, to go through sort of the rites and passages of the young boys before they leave the herd. It's very hard to know where to look right now, Paul. Jonathan, the beautiful thing about herds like this is that they don't just stay on one spot. They feed and they move and they feed and they move. So it's a constant disturbance across the landscape. It's very non-selective. So, of course, there is damage left in the wake of the elephants. There's definitely damage left in their movements, but it's all part and parcel of the ecology of this area. The cut and drop that they do, the small bit of damage to a tree here or there, the changing of the structure. And at the same time, I heard of what we've probably counted now as close to 60 elephant, the amount of organic material that they are making available through fermentation back onto the ground, the amount of birds that are following, the amount of insects that will be able to use that dung for their breeding cycle. And you'll also find at this time of year many butterflies rely exclusively on elephant dung for their moisture, some of them. So yes, it is, to the casual observer, some destruction in the wake, but they leave behind life. change, transformation. A savanna is a dynamic ecosystem, which means it's constantly changing. There's no set sort of place. It's going from this one to another one. Fire is another driving force of this ecosystem, as is drought, as is the summer rain being a lot or being minimum, flooding, disturbance by elephants, all very important factors behind the evolution of this environment. We talk a lot about elephant-damaged trees, but invariably there's actually an increase in tree densities in these areas. So more elephants are actually required to reduce the number of trees. The only issue that scientists are seeing is that there's damage happening to very specific types of trees. But then in part, those trees are not being reproduced again in the form of saplings, and that's got a lot to do with the multitudes of impala moving through that prevent those saplings from reaching a certain height. Gracie, isn't it wonderful how quiet they are, yet so big? It's just the way it is. Their foot structure, they're actually sort of standing on toes, but the toes are elevated, and where the heel of their foot would be is a massive big pad. I think some people wear shoes like that called pumps, and essentially what it is when the elephant steps down, that pad takes all of the shock of the elephant's weight, and as it pushes down, it then also expands and pushes back up. So it helps to move the elephant. So it's almost like every time the elephant puts its foot down, it's pushing itself forward at the same time. And that leads to very silent padding around. They are part and parcel of this landscape. They require very large areas to conserve them. And well, we are very blessed with the elephant energy today, and we've passed a little nugget on down to Trish.
I'm so happy to spend this time with some elephants. I think it's a great way to wrap up your day, to start your day. Great way to spend your day. So I'm just going to sit here and listen and watch them. Look, there's a tiniest one in here too. Tiny, tiny. Look how the ears are tight against them. Trying to keep warm. I just love to listen to them. Listen to them as they move through the grass, eat, break the grass. It's so calming and so peaceful. I want you to enjoy that too. For father time, hello. You say we have the best jobs? What we do really is special. It really, really, really is. Well, there they've gone, vanished behind the mound. Wasn't that nice? Don't you get to see what I mean? Sometimes I just sit with them and just listen. I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. I just get to enjoy that moment of watching them and breaking the grass and moving so deliberately. I love that about them. They move with such sagacity. And I get to share it with you. Isn't that extra special? I get to experience it and show it to everyone. Anyway, I'm going to send you over to Taylor in Pridelands. Our elephants moved off. We're going to let them go about their day.
I agree. This is the best job in the world, especially when you're surrounded by elephants. We are not currently, which is a surprise. However, we've got lots of evidence that the buffalo have been around. Yesterday afternoon, we were watching the dung beetles roll balls of dung from elephant dung. And I said that we could hear the buffalo in the distance, but we weren't able to show them to you, but we're hot on their heels again. You can just see this big splat, it looks like a bit of mud. This is actually buffalo feces. This also says to me that the buffalo is standing up. When it defecated, you can see lots of splashes. But if you look here, probably a piece of grass is not the best bet to try and turn over. Don't let me find a stick. There's a good stick. You can just see that it's slightly hardened over here. So this also says to me that this was done yesterday. I don't think that this is from this morning. It's been very cool. There's been a lot of moisture in the air, so if it was fresh, this stool would be completely loose. But you can see how it's got a slightly darker covering. So we're not far from them, but they're around here. And then something else that's really cool that's utilizing the moisture here is, can you see that tiny little spider just in front of the stick? I'm not sure what spider it is. I'm just trying to look, actually. I keep playing with my torches. Torch has been great this morning helping me. I don't know if it's maybe one of the lynx spiders, just because it's got a very elongated abdomen, and it does seem to have some bristles on its legs, which is normally a characteristic, and they also don't create a web. They're sort of free-living spiders, and the reason why it would maybe be using this is because of all the insect life that are going to be drawn to the moisture, and it will just sit and wait, and then hopefully ambush a little fly or midge or whatever may come around this way. Oh, it did look like it. Did you see that jump like that? Did it jump? Did it try and get something? I think it did. That was awesome. I think it is a little lynx spider, maybe a grass lynx spider of sorts, just from its coloration. The green lynx spiders are typically quite green in color as well. But this is an amazing thing to see, just how connected the ecosystem is, even when it is just a pile of dung, that there is so much life around it. But there is an entire herd that was moving around here and in this area. We did get to see them. We had a very nice view of them yesterday. Maybe between 30 or 40. Now, because it has been so hot, I don't think that they necessarily would have marched on towards a Leopard Dam, which is just behind us. I think that they could just still be feeding in these areas where there's quite a bit of grass. You can see it's lovely and lush, lots of buffalo grass around here, very nutritious and a firm favorite of all the grazers. So on we go in the direction that the tracks are heading, but you're going to jump on board with Trishala now, who's just on a bumble.
I am indeed on a bumble. I'm now on the western side of quarantine. I feel the morning drive starting to wind down. It's a really satisfying feeling. Peaceful, satisfying feeling. I think that might have everything to do with the elephants and not much else to do with anything else. The elephants just totally brought everything down. So in Western quarantine, what I am looking out for. So Kara did come in this direction when we saw her last night. So maybe pick up some tracks on her or anything like that, although it is fairly late in the morning now. It's unlikely that if she is around she'd be moving, which means it'd be more difficult to see. But if you don't try, you don't know. So we're gonna have a quick look around here. Maybe see some nice antelope, you know. KB, you'd like to know how the spot pattern system works on leopards. So, just now when I'm trying to explain it, I realized that, I explained it on my own face. I know I don't look like a leopard, but you know, leopards have the whiskers coming out of the lines of spots across their face. They're like that, right? And there's whiskers coming off. So that line of spots with the last set of whiskers, the whiskers closest to the nose, right? In between that last set of whiskers and the nose, there's some spots without whiskers coming from them. Those are the spots that we use when we say this individual is a 3-3. So it's the spots above that whisker line. And I know there's spots underneath, so that's why it can be quite confusing, but it's the ones above the whisker line. Now, if I have a nice, let me just find you a leopard so I can show you. How about that? Sometimes you have to pump yourself up. But it's that. It's above the whisker spots. And I will say to you that it is obviously important to know if this leopard is a 3-3 or 5-5. It'll help you identify who it is. But it's important to use that information in conjunction with other information, such as ear notches, general, spots on the body, like Tingana has that smiley face on his shoulder. Those type of things that you can pick out. So then if you see a leopard, you know it's a male or female, you should probably determine that first. Easiest way, just look between the legs. It's the most reliable way to determine the sex of anything, except a bird. And once you've determined it's a male or a female, then you know which males and females to expect in the area. Then you can look at the spot pattern. It'll help you narrow it down. More often than not, the animal is moving and is not actually looking, side to side and giving you a good profile view of each side. So that I find it a little bit unreliable. So then once you've determined, it's most clearly a 2-2, then I would look at the ear notches. And then I'll be able to tell who it is immediately. But I have found personally, once I have decided that there's something that I can lock onto, that I look for first, and I can be sure it's that animal, that works best for me as opposed to the spot pattern. I have leopard tracks in the mud. Looks like it's very difficult to see because it's right here. But it looks like it might have been cars from last night because she came from this direction that way. Hi Blake, you'd like to know if I can use eye color as a form of identification. Sometimes if an animal has a very specific eye color, like I find Tlalamba's eyes to be quite greeny, whereas Hosanna's eyes or Tingana's eyes are more yellowy. I find Tingana's eyes yellowy. Hosanna's eyes are orangey. Tlalamba's eyes for me, Tandi is also orangey. Tlalamba's a little bit more greeny. But it wouldn't be a point of identification for me because it's not reliable. The light can change what you see as green and somebody else sees as a greeny yellow, that kind of thing. So spots, characteristic spots, ooh, sorry, bumpy ride. And ear notches work well. There's other things too, like, but the more you get to know leopards, the more you see them. Like Thandi, her spots under her eye, under the white stripe underneath the eye, those spots are very, very dark. She looks like she's taken black paint and smudged under her eye, like she's about to, play a rugby match or whichever sport they do that in. None of the sports I watch that happens in. Anyway, she has that. Shidulu's eyes are a lot more slanted. Kuchava, she looks like this. That sort of sad eye look. But those are little things that you pick up as you go. Because you stop seeing the leopard as just a leopard, you start seeing them as an individual. And as soon as that happens, your brain starts to work in a slightly different way and you're picking up different characteristics. Hi Sonia, glad you asked. You'd like to know if I had any chameleon sightings recently? Yes, yesterday morning we started off drive with the chameleon near Treehouse Dam. Unfortunately, I just drove past there to see if we could look at him again, and the tree has been pushed over by an elephant. I know. Shock and horror. But also it does happen. It's happened before too. Chameleons I've gotten to know. Hopefully he was away at the time. And then yesterday, while the frenzy of tracking Mulwati was happening in the darkness, I did see about 4 chameleons as we were going. I was like, oh, chameleon, oh, chameleon, oh, chameleon. But, we were tracking the leopard, and I also saw 2 bush babies, which was quite nice. But bush babies are so quick, and if you don't have the time to sit there for about 10 minutes to wait till they can actually stop and then find them with the camera and with infrared, it's very difficult. If you don't have the time to do that, it's very unlikely you're going to have a sighting. So we forewent the chameleon and the bush baby in order to find.
So, we are still on the search list. We just want to try and see if we'll be lucky to find some elephants before the end of this morning's show. I was really hoping that when we come here to these open areas, there was a herd of elephants early this morning, that somebody had seen some around here. So we're just going to drive and see if they'll still be in the same area. Luther, I believe you're asking how do elephants sleep? So it is difficult for them, as you can imagine, to actually lie down, but they either would sleep standing, so what they would mostly do is rest their own body weight. Sometimes you'll see them just twisting their legs, maybe their hind legs, to try and rest that. Otherwise, I've seen one resting its body weight against a tree. So what they would do is put the tusks and the forehead right against the tree. And then that's how they would rest. But the smaller elephants, the babies can lie down and they are able to get up. The problem is the older they become, the bigger they get, and then it becomes difficult for them to lift up their own body weight or stand up quickly. And I've also seen some using termite mounts to just lean against those, as it's much easier to just roll back up as well. But in most of the times, they just rather rest their body weight and rest against the tree, or just lift up one leg and rest that, and then use the other one. And that's also because they spend most of their day feeding and moving around, because they need a lot of food. And I think it's over 300 kilograms of food that they need every single day. So they constantly keep moving to eat. So we're hoping that maybe we'll come across one or two of those herds that were moving around in this area. I didn't think that they would need to have moved that far, just because the weather's not that hot and there's plenty of food and grass everywhere. So I thought maybe they would be slowly moving. But also, with it being this thick, you'd be surprised how an animal as big as an elephant can easily disappear behind the bush.
For all of you Wild Earth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew, hopefully Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
Our lives are dictated by alarm clocks, traffic jams, constant multitasking, and countless distractions. The wilderness is where many of us feel the most human. On a bushwalk, we become part of the natural landscape. As you step off the vehicle, everything comes alive. As with any risky experience, walking amongst these animals inspires awe and appreciation. Now, it's your turn to go on a bushwalk. Join us from Pride Lands as we slow down our thoughts, put aside our distractions, and reconnect with a place that first taught us how to be human.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
We found the antelope that we usually search for in quarantine. Nice big group. Look at this herd of wildebeest. And here's the bull right in front of us. You can see the slight difference in coloration. Isn't he beautiful? But I especially like the color of the females. It's a little bit more grey. And within a breeding herd, you'll get females of all different ages. Young male calves too, but the females will stay in their herd. Can you hear this hornbill behind me? A whole lot of them. Now there's one calf left. Oh, it doesn't sound great. But when these calves were born, which was in December-ish, a lot of the questions we used to get was, well, when will the calf get its adult coloration? And the answer is 3 months. Around 3 months. And born in December, January, February, March, spot on, 3 months, adult coloration is here. How's these hornbills? I always think that they're saying, what up, 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 what up. It's really nice to see such a big herd, especially since it felt like they really took a knock back in December, and it was Jan or Feb when the Telematis managed to get 2 calves. Jerome, you'd like to know why different antelope have different coloration when they all live in the same place. To understand that, we first got to talk about genetics, mutations, and evolution. Because the assumption you're making is that if they live in the same place, they're all going to look the same. But in order for all of them to look the same, they have to have had the same genetic mutations constantly from the time that they split from their common ancestor. And that's not the case. So what would happen is there'd be random mutations, and some wouldn't. For example, impala, they would have random mutation that the browny color, and that counted if the dark at the top and the light at the bottom worked for them. But that mutation may not have been present, and the gene may not have been present for wildebeest. So what worked for the wildebeest was to have their calves born in that brown color, so that they're less obvious to predators. Because if it wasn't that way, then everything that lived in the same area would look the same, and it would also behave the same. So it's a very cool but also very complex thing, and we'll chat about it more, Jerome. Anyway, let me send you over to Ruel at Ngala for the last few minutes of show.
All right, We were sitting here in this little puddle where yesterday we had the plovers there. This morning when we were driving past, we just happened to see some pied kingfisher, and in fact I can still see one on that side along the bank, and I think they're hunting. It is just perched on one of the reeds. Might be a little bit difficult because of all these tall reeds that we have here. No, we're not going to see it. However, it looks like this has become a very popular spot for these birds that especially like fish and all the other vertebrates that are aquatic. So we're going to carry on, see what else we can find. There is another place with a little bit of water in it. Maybe we can drive past there and see what will be happening. Hopefully when we get there we get a little bit of life, at least some bird life. Marcus, you are asking if I have a favorite bird. Yes, I do. And I think my favorite bird is a fork-tailed drongo. I know they are the least colorful birds, but there are very small birds that like to actually defend themselves. And I've seen those birds chase eagles out of their territory. And what's more impressive about that fork-tailed drongo, I like the most, is the ability for them to mimic the calls of other birds. So I think that's one of the reasons why that fork-tailed drongo is my favorite bird. It has been for ages. All right, everybody, and I say to you, thank you all for joining us this morning. We certainly had a great time, and I hope that you guys enjoyed yourselves as much as we did. Hopefully you guys will join us again this afternoon, where we'll be out and about trying to give you guys all the little bits of the wilderness.